Koppel, host of the Time for Coffee podcast, where you get firsthand career advice into the jobs and industries that interest you the most. And before we start today's show, I have a quick favor to ask you. If you haven't already, I'd be incredibly grateful if you give us a rating and a review on iTunes. And if you're like me, you need to do it now because you'll forget later and because it's the best way to help others who may be in search of career advice to find this free resource. So press pause if you haven't done it and do it right now. I'll wait. Thanks so much and enjoy today's show. Hey there, Java Junkies. Welcome to another K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. By the way, K-Cups come in 3 sizes, single, double, and triple shots, or roughly 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes in length. So if you don't have time to throw back an entire caffeinated career conversation, these K-Cup mini episodes of T4C can give you a quick caffeinated fix, whether you're on the go or you only have a few minutes to binge. So grab your mug and take a chug, because it's time for a caffeinated career double shot K-Cup with my guest, Rose Catherine Pinkney. Could you share a time in your professional life when you struggled? I have been very open with my listeners over the years about the fact that I was fired twice in my 40s. And although they were extremely painful experiences, they were also incredible opportunities for me to reinvent myself and move in directions I might not have otherwise explored. And most important here, Rose Catherine, is how you persevered and a lesson that you may have learned in the process.
Boy, why do these stories always start with getting fired?
Yeah.
Because I guess that's when we learn the most. Some people say that I was laid off. I worked for a company that got taken over by another company, and I one day no longer had my job. So you can call that laid off, but I call it fired because I had a job that I really liked at a place I really liked that paid me a salary I really liked, working with people I really liked. And then one day someone else had that job and nobody asked me. So I was totally thrown because I thought that if you work hard and do what you're supposed to do and have a modicum of success, that you rise up through the ranks, not find yourself fired. And again, these jobs are subjective. Success is subjective. So in fact, there's a funny story of when I got fired, I didn't even understand what was happening to me. The new boss at the company called me down to his office and I went down and he said, Rose Catherine, we're going to move in another direction. And I, with my pen in hand, opened my notebook and said, okay, what do you want me to do?
Oh, God.
It never crossed my mind. Even though we all know when a new company comes in and there's a merger that people lose their jobs, it never crossed my mind that that could be me. And it was funny later when I realized, like the look on his face, it took me a minute to figure, I'm like, oh, a new direction. Oh my God, he's taking away my job. So I was horrified. I felt like a failure. Fortunately for me, and in many jobs in this business, I was under contract, which meant they still had to pay me, even though they took my job, which is also even a weird slap in the face because it's like, you're going to pay me not to work? Am I so bad that you're going to pay me to go away? But after I kind of got over the pain and after I recognized that I wasn't a bad executive. I maybe was just not the right executive for that company. Once I, again, fortunately realized that my check would keep coming and I did not have to freak out about, my livelihood, which I was very fortunate because I think most people have to worry about their livelihoods. I was able to sort of take it in for a moment and see it as a time to reset and rejuvenate. I had never been at home during the day. I had moved and had lived in a place for a couple of years. I'd never once been at home during the day in the week. And I actually met my mailman for the first time. I met some neighbors. I took up tennis for a minute. I saw matinee movies for the first time and I traveled and I believed that at some point there would be another job that I loved with people I love, doing what I love, paying me what I wanted, that would happen for me again. But it took a moment for me to relax and recognize that the hard work that I had put in and that the reputation that I had developed would help me maintain a job in the entertainment business. But that first 10 minutes after I realized that I was being fired and I had to go back to my office and figure out what to do was like the hardest 10 minutes ever. And then you realize that you lived through it. And I learned some things. I learned that when the new people come in, you kind of have to try to learn their environment and maybe not stick so hard to your old environment because the old environment is gone. You learn that sometimes you have to start over. These were people that didn't know me. And so I kind of needed to prove myself again to them, even though I didn't think it was fair. That's kind of how it worked. And I learned that those people that are really your friends, who you have good relationships with, that are genuine, will be there for you in your time of need. And that there's also a whole lot of people that won't, but that you can survive all of it and still find yourself working 20 years later.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. You could just replace Rose Catherine with Andrea.
Yeah.
Listen, I have been there. Totally relate to that. The sting for me lasted more than 10 minutes, but the shock, holy cow, but I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. You've got talents, skills, and as one door closes, as they say, another opens.
Yep.
Thanks for tuning in to this K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. If you want to listen to our entire caffeinated career conversation, please check out the show notes for this episode. Thanks so much for listening to this latest episode of T4C. And if you're interested in learning more about my coaching services for confused college students and recent grads, feel free to check out the Time for Coffee website under the coaching tab at time4coffee.org or text me at 202-236-5712. That's 202-236-5712.